What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is Saturday today. We are going down to Willis Street here to pick up the camper. Got a 26-foot travel trailer that we used to keep in storage down here in Willis Street because didn't have enough room in my old house to store it on the property. The area that we lived in wasn't really ideal for storing stuff like that at your house. So we stored it at an off-site storage facility, and it's not super expensive, but because we moved recently, we have a little bit more property, and the area is not so weird about having campers and boats and stuff like that in your yard or in your driveway. We're going to yank it out of there. We're going to be using it in 2 weeks to go camping anyway, so we need to bring it up to the house, make sure that everything's good to go, and fix a water leak that happened last year that I've not been able to fix yet. So we're going to go get that today, hook it up, tow it back to the house, and probably tomorrow we're going to end up fixing it. So I'll make a video about that. But right now we are headed to the scrap yard, which is right up here. We're going to drop off some stuff from all the front end work that we did on the truck here a couple weeks ago. We've got rotors, we've got old struts, we've got ball joints, tie rods, stuff like that. So we're just going to drop this stuff off here and see if we can't get a couple bucks. Mainly it's just to get this stuff out of the garage because I'm tired of tripping over it and it's in the way. So we're going to drop this off, then we're going to go get the camper, and I'll show you guys that, and we'll tow it home, and that'll be it. So hang tight, it's going to be a good one, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks. Alright, so we're going to pull off the scale here. If you guys have never been to a scrapyard before, it's pretty simple. They weigh your truck when you come in with all the stuff that you plan on getting rid of in the back. Then you pull over to the pile, you throw all your stuff off, and they weigh you on the way out. And whatever the difference is how much scrap metal you had, and that's what they pay you per pound or whatever. So I've got front forks in there from the Cafe Racer project, the original front end with the aluminum wheel and everything, but it still has the tire on it, and they're not going to take that because the tire is too big. So we're going to have to leave that in the back of the truck, take it home, cut the tire off of it, and bring it back another time. So not a huge deal, kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So I'm going to throw my handy dandy new gloves on here and throw this stuff out of the back of the truck. So hang tight, and we'll get on the road, go get the camper here in just a bit. Alright, we got everything off the back of the truck. Like I said, we got to keep that front end off that old bike in there because the tire is still on the wheel. I thought about cutting the tire off yesterday before I loaded everything up, but I thought I would take my chances that maybe they would take it anyway, and unfortunately it doesn't look like that's the case. So no big deal, we'll take it home. We'll throw it back in the garage for now. We'll cut the tire off of it eventually, and we'll bring it back. get a couple bucks for the steel and the forks, and then the aluminum wheel will be worth a couple dollars. So no big deal. We're just waiting for the scale to clear up here so that we can pull back up and scale out, get a couple bucks. I'm gonna guess, I'm not quite sure where scrap prices are right now, whether they're good or bad at the moment, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that that's probably about $7.50 worth that will get off of that. So you know, is it worth your time to come down here and, you know, go out of your way to drop this stuff off and throw it in the back of your truck and then throw it back off your truck when you get here for $7.50? No, not necessarily. You know, but you got to get rid of it somehow. The regular trash is not going to take, you know, 70 pounds worth of steel. You know, they're going to notice that in your trash can, and it's kind of a waste. You know, at least this way you know it's being recycled, and you're doing your part to keep stuff like this out of a landfill, and they're actually going to melt it down and turn it into something productive again. So it is what it is. We'll scale out here in a couple minutes, and I'll let you know what we got. Hang tight. Alright guys, anybody want to take a guess how much we got? I was pretty close with my guess of $6.50, but we didn't quite get there. We ended up with exactly $5. $5 bill, old Abraham Lincoln here. So it is what it is. Like I said, I joked around with the guy in there. I said, well, it's enough for a beer. And he says, I even rounded it up for you a little bit to make it worth your while. So it was actually only probably $4 and change. And he was nice enough just to hand me a crisp $5 bill. But anyway, like I said, it really wasn't that much. It was 2 struts off of the truck here, 2 rotors off of a Ford Focus, and some ball joints and tie rods and stuff like that, which that stuff doesn't really weigh anything. So $5 is $5. You know, it's just enough to kind of make it worth driving out of your way a little bit while you're running errands to go drop that stuff off. But you know, like I said, we still have the front end off of the Yamaha in there, off of the Wife's Cafe Racer project. That'll be worth a couple of bucks just because the front wheel is aluminum, which is worth a little bit more than just scrap steel. So we'll do that another day once we get the tire taken off of that. The tire, you know, we'll just have to throw in the trash or find somewhere that takes them, because they won't take that at the scrapyard, and I'm not even sure that they'll take it in the regular trash either. So anyway, we're done at the scrapyard here. We're going to drive through downtown Lancaster and get down to Willis Street and hook up to the trailer. So we'll show you that. We'll get hooked up. It's going to be a little bit of a pain because the wife's not with us today, so getting everything hooked up and all the jacks up and everything, weight distribution bars and stuff can take a minute. My biggest concern is I'm hoping that the battery that's in the trailer is still charged enough to lower the front jack, because that battery's been sitting down here in storage for probably 4 months now, since we used it at the beginning of the summer. I have it disconnected, so it shouldn't be draining or anything, but hasn't been used or charged or anything like that in like 4 months. So hopefully it has enough juice in it to at least lower the front end of the trailer down onto the hitch, and as long as we can get it towed home, then I can deal with getting it back off the truck once we're at the house. But I don't have any tools or extra batteries or anything with me right now, so if we can't get it on the truck, we'll be kind of screwed. But anyway, we're heading through Lancaster now. We'll catch you down here in Willis Street in a couple minutes. Thanks, guys. Alright guys, so we just went in the office here and canceled my lease, if you will, for this storage spot. I pay year to year, so I paid a full year in advance, so They reimbursed me for 2.5 months, being that it's the middle of October. So we got a couple bucks back, which is good. Between that and the $5 from the scrapyard, we'll be able to buy dinner and a couple beers tonight. So the wife will be happy about that. We're just going to go back over here, see if I can remember where this thing's even parked at, and we'll get it hooked up, make sure the tires have some air in them, and we'll get this thing home. So hang tight, we'll get it hooked up here, and we'll show you what's going on. Thanks. Alright guys, here she is. 26-foot Nomad travel trailer. Looks like the tires are holding air, so probably a little bit low, but we're not going too far, so that's good. Yeah, I mean, you can see all the campers that they have around here. But yeah, so we'll get the old girl hooked up. You know, it's not as nice as something like this would be, but you know what, the price was right. And you know, she's a little older. It's a 97 travel trailer, but you know what, it works. Like I said, the price was right, and inside's actually still really nice. So inside's still actually really nice, so we're just going to go ahead and get hooked up. We got the weight distribution hitch locked up here. We're going to hook up the battery, make sure everything's still good, to raise this jack here, because as far as I know, there's no manual override to lift this up or down. So if the battery's dead or this jack takes a crap on us, we're not going to be able to put it on the truck. So we'll get everything hooked up here, and we'll roll out and we'll get this puppy home. So alright guys, we'll see you soon. Well guys, so remember earlier when I said that I was worried about the battery on the camper not having enough juice to operate the tongue jack, and therefore not allowing me to hook it up to the truck? Well, that's exactly what happened. So the battery's dead because it's been sitting here all summer, and I haven't used the camper since I don't know, May, I think it was. So I had the negative terminal disconnected so that it wouldn't, you know, drain through the chassis or anything like that, but the battery still went dead somehow. So I can't use the tongue jack, and I don't have any tools or anything to take it apart enough to see if there's any way to operate it manually. I'm sure there probably is, but you'd have to take the whole thing apart, and I didn't bring any tools with me other than like a screwdriver. So I called some friends, and my dad's actually going to come down, and we're going to jump start or hook his Jeep up to the battery on the camper, which should allow us to get enough juice to operate the tongue jack, because I can't use the battery in my truck because, well, the battery in my truck is 20 feet away from the connections on the trailer, and I don't have 20-foot long jumper cables, and I need the battery in the truck to drive the truck underneath the camper. So we need a second battery, is long story short of it. So my dad's going to come down. Probably take him about half an hour or so to get here, and we're going to use his Jeep to power up the camper enough to get the camper onto my truck. So anyway, I kind of thought that might be the case. I was crossing my fingers that it wasn't, but it looks like it is. So we're gonna hang out here for about half an hour and do everything else, get everything else ready that we can until he gets here, and then we will hopefully get this thing hooked up and get on the road. We'll see you soon. Alright guys, so as you can see probably in the background here, we have the camper hooked up finally. I'm a little bit embarrassed to say the least. So my dad came down with his Jeep and we were going to hook the jumper cables up to the battery on the tongue of the camper here so that we could power the jack. We hooked jumper cables up and the jack still was not working. So obviously we know that we got plenty of power because, you know, the battery in his Jeep is good, but it wasn't working. So we started looking into the wiring a little bit, and the power wire that runs from the battery to the tongue jack here has a little fuse, like an inline fuse, those little tube style glass ones, if you're familiar with what I'm talking about. And it just pushes over the fuse. The wires just push over the fuse with like a little rubber boot to keep the rain and stuff out. And what we found is that, I guess, somehow either just sitting there, you know, the wind or squirrels running around on it, or maybe just for me moving the cables a little bit trying to hook them up, the wiring where that fusible link is, they pulled apart a little bit, so that it wasn't making contact all the way through the wire. There was an open there at the fuse, so we pulled that apart, checked the fuse once we realized that there was actually a fuse in the line there, and the fuse looked good, so we pushed it back together good and tight, and lo and behold, the jack started working. So I feel bad. I made my dad drive down here about half an hour away from his house to come help me out, and I didn't even really need his help all along. So I do feel bad about that. I drug him out of the house on a Saturday to help me with a problem that was not really a problem that I needed him. If I had just taken the time to look into the wiring a little bit and checked that fuse and pushed it back together, I could have had it fixed. It was a waste of my time too, because I sat down there for half an hour waiting for him to get down there. So, you know, I should have been home over an hour ago. But anyway, you know, it's always good to see the dad anyway. We don't see him too often. You know, he's busy with his life, and my wife and I are busy with ours, and so we don't really see him all that often anymore. So it was good to have an excuse to kind of work on something, you know, as stupid as it may be, work on something with him and catch up and shoot the bull a little bit anyway today. So the good news is that the battery's not dead. The wiring was just a matter of wiggling it and making the connection tight, and we got the camper loaded up. We're heading back. The old mistress here is doing a good job of towing, as always. And we're going to get this thing home back to Manheim and park it beside the garage, and we'll worry about the pipe leak under the shower probably tomorrow sometime. Tomorrow's another day, and we got dinner plans here tonight in a little bit, and I need to get cleaned up